The map that mapped every country. On the collective unconscious. A cartographer in a small port town hung in his shop a map. It was a map of every country he had never visited. He had drawn it himself, alone in the back room of his shop over many years. He had begun it in his 30th year. He had completed it to the extent that a map of every country can be completed in his 60th. He had never been more than 5 miles from the town in which he had been born. He had never seen a coastline that was not the coastline of his own port. He had never seen a mountain that was not the small hill behind the cemetery. He had never seen a foreign city. He had never crossed a border. He had, in fact, never owned a horse. The map showed all of them. It showed the coastlines of 3 continents. It showed the great mountain ranges, each with their named peaks. It showed the foreign cities, Damascus, Samarkand, Cordoba, Cathay, the small lost cities of the western deserts, the larger cities of the eastern rivers. It showed the borders between countries that had not, in his lifetime, been crossed by any traveler from his town. It showed islands the size of his thumb in oceans he had never seen. He hung it in his shop where customers could see it. The customers, at first, did not believe it. The first customer to look at the map seriously was an old sea captain who had retired to the port. He had been a sea captain for 40 years. He had been to many of the coasts. Map showed. He looked at it for an hour. He pointed with a trembling finger to a particular coast. "This," he said, "this is where my ship ran aground in the spring of my 28th year. This island here, the current here is exactly as you have drawn it. The depth here is exactly as you have drawn it. I lost 2 men on that coast. How do you know this?" "I drew it," said the cartographer. "You did not." "I did. I drew it on a Tuesday in March 11 years ago. I remember the day. I had been working on the western coasts for some weeks. I drew that island in the afternoon." The sea captain bought a small portion of the map, the portion that showed the coast where his ship had run aground, and took it home and framed it. He could not understand it. He was, however, satisfied that it was accurate. Other customers came. A merchant who had traded with the eastern rivers came to the shop. He pointed to a particular city. "This is where I bought my silks for 30 years. The placement is correct. The river is correct. How do you know?" "I drew it." A pilgrim who had walked to a famous shrine in the southern mountains came to the shop. He pointed to the shrine. "This is exactly where it is. The mountain pass is exactly as one approaches it. How do you know?" "I drew it." By the 3rd year of the map being hung, the cartographer's shop was known throughout the port. Travelers came specifically to see the map. They came to verify in their particular ways that the map was accurate where their own experience touched it. It was accurate in every case. The river they had crossed was on the map. The mountain pass they had taken was on the map. The city they had been born in, the temple their grandmother had prayed in, the strange-shaped island they had sailed past in fog, all of these were on the map, in the right places, with the right names. A traveler, more curious than the others, asked the cartographer how he had done it. He was a young man with a thoughtful face. He had been by that point in his life to perhaps 30 countries. He had verified the map against all 30. He had been preparing his question carefully. "I did not draw it," said the cartographer. "You did," said the young traveler. "I watched you sign the corner. You signed it in my presence on the map I have been studying for an hour. Your signature is in your handwriting." "I signed it. I did not draw it." "Then how?" "It was already in the paper. I held the pen. The lines came up through the pen. I have spent 40 years not interrupting them." The young traveler sat with this for some time. "What do you mean in the paper?" "I cannot explain it precisely. I have been a cartographer for 40 years. I began, in my apprenticeship, by copying maps that other men had made. I drew their lines onto my own paper. The drawing was effortful. In my 5th year, I noticed that when I was very tired, my hands sometimes drew lines that were not on the map I was copying. I assumed at first that I was making mistakes. I checked. The lines were not on the original map, but they were correct. They corresponded to features of the country that the original map had omitted. The original map was in some way incomplete. My hand, when tired, was correcting it. I do not know how my hand knew. My hand had not been to the country." The young traveler waited. "In my 10th year," said the cartographer, "I began to experiment. I sat down at a blank piece of paper. I let my hand move. I did not, on the surface of my mind, choose where the hand should go. The hand drew, lines came up. They became coastlines, mountain ranges, the courses of rivers. I let the hand draw for an hour each evening. After perhaps a year, the first piece of paper held a small region, a region I did not recognize, but that had the structure of a real region. I showed it, eventually, to a sailor who had been there. The sailor said it was exact. I had not, by any ordinary means, known of that region. My hand had known. Where does the hand know it from? I do not know. I have asked myself the question for 40 years. I have not in any precise way answered it. I have come to think that the world, in some way I cannot explain, is already in the paper before any pen has touched it. The pen does not, in the deepest sense, draw the world. The pen finds it. The paper has been holding the world all along. The cartographer, if he is patient and quiet, can let the world come up through the pen onto the paper. The drawing is the discovery of what was already there. I have spent 40 years finding it. The map is, by now, almost complete. There are a few small countries I have not yet found. They are not in my paper, easy to bring up. I am working on them. I will perhaps find them in my remaining years. If I do not, someone else will. The world is, in any patient paper, already there. The young traveler looked at the cartographer for a long time. He bought the map. He paid a fair price. He took it to a great city where it was studied by scholars. The scholars examined it. They compared it to every other map they had. They sent travelers to verify the remote parts. They found, after years of study, that the map was accurate in every detail, including parts that no scholar in that great city had previously known to be accurate. The map showed countries the scholars had only heard of in legends. On inspection, the legends had been true. The map was hung, eventually, in a museum. It hangs to this day, drawn by a man who never left his port, and accurate in every detail. Visitors look at it. Some of them point to particular places, places they have been to, places they remember, and say, with the same tremor the sea captain had had, "How did he know this?" The museum has no answer. The cartographer is, by now, long dead, but his paper in the museum is still patient. Some scholars believe that, if you look at the map long enough, you will in time see your own hometown in it, even if your hometown is not, on the surface of the map, anywhere. They believe the map contains, beneath its visible features, every place the world has ever been or will be. The visible places are only the ones the cartographer found in his 40 years. The other places are still in the paper. The next cartographer, when one arrives, will find more of them. The work, the scholars say, is not finished. The work is, in some sense, never finished. The paper is older than the pen. The map of every country you have never visited is already in the paper. The work is to hold the pen and not interrupt. What you call your imagination is older than your travels. The cartographer who has spent 40 years not interrupting knows things he has not been to. The paper, when looked at long enough, contains every place that has ever been or will be. The work is not finished. The work is, in some sense, never finished.